The warning signal came at 0300 ship time. The UES Fenrir hummed like a sleeping beast as stars slid past its armored skin. In the dark cargo bay, wolves breathed in slow, steady waves, and the air carried the warm scent of fur, oil, and disinfectant. Steel crates were strapped to the deck. Harnesses waited on hooks. A line of German shepherds watched their handlers with patient eyes, tails thumping the floor in soft, hopeful beats. Maya Wren ran a thumb along a scar on her knuckle and told herself to relax. She never did before a drop. Maya was a combat engineer once, top of her unit for field improvisation and ugly miracles. She blew doors in war zones. She built bridges in floods. She learned to fix anything with nothing but a knife and a roll of tape. Later, after she walked away from the neat brass smiles and the boardroom wars, she learned something else: how to listen to an animal before it moved. "Up, Rex," her voice was low and even. Rex stood from his blanket, shook once, and looked up with calm, bright eyes. He was big for a shepherd, deep-chested and steady, the kind of dog who would run into a storm because you asked him and then check on the smallest pup on his way back. He pressed his head lightly into Maya's thigh. She scratched the fur behind his ears. He sighed as if to say, "I'm here, you're here, we're fine." The deck speaker clicked. "All teams to ready stations," said the bridge officer. "This is Admiral Morrison. We have an emergency transmission from Kepler 442b. Coalition Distress Code 7. Full complement to deployment in 20. Maya clipped Rex's harness with practiced hands. "We're going to meet crystal people again," she told him, because she always talked to him in moments like this. "Try not to eat any leaders." Rex blinked like a saint who forgave her weak jokes. Across the bay, Dr. Amy Foster adjusted tiny anklet communicators on a row of ravens. Their feathers drank the bay lights. One bird, Shadow, cocked his head and croaked, testing the mic. He hopped onto Amy's glove and peered at Maya and Rex as if he had a secret he might share for a price. "Morning," Amy said. "It's always morning somewhere," Maya replied. "Got word from the linguistics channel. The Zephyrians are calling this a plea sung on broken bells." Amy's mouth twisted, sad and proud at the same time. "They wouldn't say that if they weren't scared." Maya nodded. She'd been on Kepler 442b twice. The Zephyrians were tall, faceted bodies of living crystal that sang when they moved. Their streets were tuned to their feet. Their cities were songs carved in diamond. Even the wind had harmony there. The first time Maya heard their elders speak, she cried without knowing why. It sounded like home from a dream. The Fenrir slid out of hyperspace. Gravity bit gently. The bay doors shook once as locking bolts cycled. Major Danny Clark strode in with his tablet tucked to his ribs. He had the clean boots and ugly posture of a man who refused to die tired. "Handlers, eyes up." His voice was firm, not loud. "We've got 3 things and then you go to work. 1, the swarm is probing the northern Crystal Plains. 2, the coalition has new refugees in the city, young, old, unfamiliar species, lots of stress. 3, there's internal pushback. Some coalition factions don't want us to deploy animals near their people." A hand went up. Sergeant Brooks, whose shepherd Luna was the calmest creature Maya had ever seen in a firefight. "Internal pushback as in we don't like dogs or we'll shoot them if they get close." Danny didn't blink. "As in we consider this plan barbaric and offensive to the memory of 1,000,000 lost cities. You'll be watched, be polite, be unoffendable, be effective." "Copy," Maya said with the rest. The overhead speakers chimed again. "Approach to Atmo, 10 minutes to dust." Maya tightened Rex's shoulder straps and checked the neural touch tabs on his collar. She didn't need a brain-to-brain link. They didn't use those. The tabs only translated simple haptics, her squeeze for his flank, his tug back on her palm, nothing more. The rest was trust. "Hey," Amy said softly, "you're making that face." "What face?" "The one that says, 'If someone shoots my dog, I will take apart a tank with a spoon.'" Maya managed a crooked smile. "I'd use a fork." Shadow let out a rattling gurgle, amused. They felt the landing in their feet. The Fenrir's weight pressed down, the bay vibrated, the ramps sighed open. Light poured in warm, split through color. Kepler 442b's twin suns threw rainbow shards through the crystal forest beyond the landing field. Every breeze sounded like 1,000 tiny bells shaken by a patient hand. Maya walked Rex to the edge of the ramp and stopped. "Breathe," she said out loud for herself, for him, for the moment. The receiving party approached across the glinting plaza. Zephyrian elders with long, bell-bright strides. Others, shorter and darker, with their edges wrapped in matte cloth. Coalition members who didn't ring, who came from dust and gas and wind and blood. The Zephyrian leader wore a sash woven of thin, flexible prism threads that threw soft halos with each step. "Elder Zixtal," Danny said, bowing with palms open. "We come as we said we would." Elder Zixtal's harmonics were low today, like a song sung under breath. His translator whispered, "We receive you under the vow of shared shelter." He turned slightly. "This is Counselor Rithvar of the Oran Syndic." The figure beside him, tall, translucent, with a body like a carved block of smoke, nodded. Its translator voice was flat and careful. "We speak for those who do not agree with animals in war." Maya felt Rex lean a little into her leg. She hid her hand along his ruff. "We understand," Danny said, "but with respect, the enemy doesn't care about anyone's theology." Rithvar's edges darkened. "And with respect, Major, we have seen your species war. It eats the spirit as surely as any machine. We gather the last children of a galaxy here. We will not let them watch what you call tactics chew innocence to bones." Elder Zixtal lifted a hand and the plaza breathed again. "We invited them. We accept their help. We carry their risk." Maya watched a group of younglings peeking from behind an elder's knees. They were clear as glass, their cores glowing with shy light. One rang a high, worried note and hid again. "Let me show you something," Maya said before she knew she would speak. Danny shot her a tiny warning look. She kept her voice soft anyway. "Only if you allow." Rithvar tilted, unreadable. Elder Zixtal gestured, "Show." Maya crouched. Rex sat at once, his head slightly bowed. Maya unclipped his chest plate and set it aside. She laid her palm on his shoulder, then pushed it lightly toward the children. Rex rose and walked with absurd, deliberate care. He stopped a meter away and turned sideways. A social signal, "I'm here, not starring. I'll wait, no threat." The smallest Zephyrian child rang a nervous chord. Rex blinked once and lay down with his paws tucked. He looked at nothing. He breathed like a stone at rest. One brave child stepped forward. Another followed. Crystal fingers touched dog fur. A sound like chimes and laughter spread across the plaza. The worried note in the air lifted. Rithvar's edges softened by a fraction. "Trick," the counselor said, but it didn't sound strong. "A parlor display." "No," Elder Zixtal sang, and his translator had warm water in it. "Memory. We had guardians once, not dogs, but guardians." Maya stood, heart beating too fast. She was suddenly aware that she loved this dog so much it hurt her teeth. She swallowed it and nodded to Danny. He cleared his throat. "We need to see your northern fields. We'll deploy along the crystal gullies and the singing trees." He glanced at Elder Zixtal. "We'll keep the children away from our lines." Rithvar's translator made a small mechanical click. "Very good. Keep them away from your lines." They moved through the city like a procession. Humans in matte armor, wolves on soft pads, ravens overhead like living glyphs, Zephyrians chiming news through alleys made of light. Maya walked at the front with Rex. Shadow spiraled above them and croaked whenever he saw something that smelled like useful mischief. A carved channel where sound pooled, a ridge of colored stone that made echoes leap. Amy took notes in rapid shorthand, lips moving soundlessly. Kepler 442b's crystal forest opened into a plain. The suns hung at different angles. The sky had more blue than blue should have. The wind ran its fingers across the crystal grass and made a song that felt like kind words in a quiet kitchen. They took positions along a line of low crystal hummocks. Wolves ranged ahead in a long, loose curve, never in straight lines, never in neat grids. Rex sat at Maya's heel, studying the world with the patience of a judge and the heart of a child. The shepherd Luna posted with Sergeant Brooks 10 meters left, eyes half closed, nose working like a mapmaker's quill. Farther out, Ghost, the massive gray alpha, moved like fog made of muscle. He paused on a rise and lifted his head. Maya felt it before she heard it, a pressure, a filth on the air like stale electrons and old grief. Ghost howled. The sound rolled across the plain and rattled the crystal hummocks. Zephyrian scouts stopped moving and lifted their faces. Even the wind seemed to listen. Shadow answered with a hard, clean croak. The ravens spread into a ragged fan and vanished against the suns. "Contact," Holly Green said over comms. "Northern Arc, 2 clicks, low profile, heavy cores, 3 no, 4 targets." "Harvesters," Danny said. "Positions, keep them busy, not brave. We learn first, we kill second." "Copy." Maya pressed 2 fingers lightly on Rex's shoulder. "Hold." He stayed, but the lean in his body coiled like a spring tide to the earth. Shapes broke the horizon, low, black, more absence than presence. The nearest moved with a horrible liquid grace. Its surface did not reflect light, it ate it. It looked like a beetle built by a god who liked knives. The swarm. Maya's mouth dried. She hated them for what they had done to a million homes she had never seen, and she hated them for what they made people become. Clever monsters, permanent funerals. She hated them quietly and all at once. The harvester reached the first line of singing trees and paused. It unfolded instruments like petals and sent invisible teeth through the air. Sound bent and snapped. The singing trees went mute. Audio disruption, Amy hissed in her mic. They're deafening the field. Shadow darted and rose, testing the air currents that weren't air anymore. He flicked a wing and banked. The ravens split, then split again, falling into a storm of small, chaotic circles that no targeting brain could love. Wolves drift, Holly said softly. The pack turned as if one thought passed through 100 paws, but not in a way any machine could calculate. They used wind and scent and the small movements of each other's ears. They made a shape that looked like nothing at all. The harvester advanced. Maya didn't speak. She shifted her weight a hair and Rex flowed with her like a shadow that made its own choices. She could feel her old precision return, angle, distance, material, load, except the material was fur and loyalty and a language pure as a hand on a shoulder in the dark. Ghost moved, not toward the machine, not away. He crossed at a diagonal that would have made a tactics instructor break his own pencil. He paused, nose high, then sprinted, toward a hummock that threw a thin ribbon of wind exactly where it needed to be. He launched, bounced off the crystal, landed at a new angle, and vanished under a lip of stone. The harvester rotated with the deadly patience of something that did not care if it took a century to kill you. Slicing limbs extended. Their edges shimmered with tiny, mean lights. Rex stood with a quiet chuff. Maya let her breath fall and did not stop him. He trotted forward, not fast, not slow, and then peeled left, his tail low, his body easy. He looked to any machine in the universe, like a civilian taking a random stroll. He looked to anyone with a heart, like a friend going where friends were needed. Rex, Maya breathed. He stopped at the base of a singing tree gone silent, lifted one paw and pressed it to the trunk. A small, soft sound came out of him, half whine, half hum. The tree answered with a faint, new note. Not the old song, not its tuned voice, but something like it, flickering and brave. Maya's throat closed and then opened with a little helpless laugh. Good boy. The harvester rotated to face him. Hey, Maya said to no one and to everything. Look at me. She stepped into the open. She lifted both hands, spread her fingers. She made herself big and calm, the way you stand before a horse who thinks the wind wants its bones. She walked toward the machine at an angle that looked wrong and felt right. Ren, Danny snapped. Trust me, she said. Trust him. The machine tracked angles, velocities, heat signatures, harmonic anomalies, electromagnetic pulses, chemical traces, optical shadows. It found many things to shoot at. And then Shadow dropped. He did not attack. He pulled a thin thread of fiber from his leg band, a Zephyrian gift woven with air pockets, and let it fall across a narrow ridge. The wind caught it and made it sing. Not loud, not anything if you were born of math and steel. But if you were built to hear the world the way old creatures hear rain coming, it was a door. The harvester rotated again, just a degree. Ghost exploded from under the crystal lip and went for the smallest limb, not the big ones, not the flashy ones. He clamped and twisted and let go, not for damage but for distraction. Luna came in from the other side, silent and precise, and nipped the exposed joint that flexed too often. The harvester adjusted. It always adjusted. It always learned. It always killed. Its top plates peeled back to reveal an aperture like a pupil, heat built. Air rippled. The humming thread snapped. The singing tree went dead again. Back, Danny barked. Back, back. A low shape slid from the far flank. Not a wolf, not a dog. A strip horse, one of the lean plains runners the refugee worlds had brought, the size of a deer, striped like storm shadows. It burst from cover with impossible speed, slapped its hooves on the harvester's smooth armor, and vaulted clear. Where each hoof struck, it left a smear of sticky sap Amy had cooked up with the Zephyrians. The next second, two ravens hurled short shards of crystal into the sap. They stuck, humming like angry bees. The harvester read the inputs and changed its model. It stopped attacking. It stepped back. Maya felt her skin go tight, It's retreating. No, Holly whispered, voice thin. It's recalculating. Elder Zixtel's harmonics spiked. Another! He pointed up, and the city bells, 1,000 tiny tones, picked up the fear and threw it back, a glittering alarm. Maya looked to the sky. A second shape fell through the bright air, not black like the harvesters, but gunmetal gray with seams that moved like breath. It was bigger. It was wrong. It made no sound at all. For a heartbeat, Maya thought, dropship. And then the seams unfolded into many small, smooth faces. Not eyes, masks. Each face changed expression, anger, sorrow, calm, delight, in a loop that was almost, but not quite, alive. Danny swore, new class unknown. Holly's voice broke. Reading Adaptation Protocol 7 signatures, that can't be right, that's a myth. Amy's whisper shook, they're trying to copy us. The gray machine hovered above the plane. One of its mask faces turned toward Maya and Rex and made a shape like a smile a child would draw if they had never seen a person smile. It spoke in a voice stolen from 100 recordings. We have learned. Rex's hackles rose. Ghost growled, a deep old mountain sound. The gray machine extended a limb. From its tip a hand unfolded, 5 fingers perfect and wrong. It opened the hand as if asking to hold one. Hello, Pack, it said, teach us how to love. And then, before anyone could move, a lance of black light stabbed down from high orbit and struck the gray machine full in its core. The sky rang like a dropped cathedral. The gray machine screamed with 100 faces and fell in burning pieces across the crystal plain. A colder voice thundered from above, empty as deep space. Deviation detected, purge complete. Maya flinched as a shockwave rolled through her bones. She grabbed Rex's harness and pulled him close. Elder Zixtel's people clung to each other and sang a note of grief that shook the wind. Danny's voice cut through, hard and clear. All units cover, we've got a command class in orbit. They'll burn the whole field to glass if we give them a straight fight. Wolves scatter, ravens mask the city, handlers keep the pack together. Maya looked up into the wide, bright sky and saw a black needle descending toward the world. Her throat went dry, her hands were steady. Rex, she whispered, and he leaned into her, fearless. The needle opened like a flower made of night. And somewhere beyond the blue, something vast and patient spoke again. Begin planetary sterilization. The black needle tore through the high sky, fire licking its edges. The sound came seconds later, a deep, rolling crack that turned crystal song into shattered disharmony. Even the ground seemed to cringe beneath it. Maya's heart pounded so loud she could hear it in her ears. Rex pressed into her side, steady as a stone. His presence kept her upright when every instinct screamed to run. Command-class ship, Holly said over comms. Estimate size 2 kilometers, orbital capacity confirmed. They'll scorch the surface before we can evacuate. Danny's voice was calm but tight. All teams pull back to Crystal City, protect civilians, wolves on perimeter, ravens on high screen. Handlers keep formation loose, make the swarm guess at every step. Ghost barked once, sharp and commanding, and his pack scattered in perfect chaos. No straight lines, no symmetry, nothing a machine brain could parse into predictions. Ravens cawed overhead, splitting and rejoining in impossible spirals. The sky looked alive with black fireflies. Maya tightened Rex's harness. Back, boy, we fall back. They moved with the flow of refugees streaming toward the shining towers of the Zephyrians' capital. The city rose like a choir frozen in crystal. Spires tuned to harmonic resonance, bridges strung like harp strings, plazas built from singing stone. But now the song was broken by fear. Every step of the citizens chimed too high, too fast, the music of panic. Children cried in tones like shattered glass. Mothers and fathers tried to cover them with cloth to mute the sound, but grief leaked through. The coalition's 17 species pressed shoulder to shoulder in the avenues. Glowing astrolites dimmed their light in sorrow. Voidweavers flickered in and out, fear tearing holes in their reality. Winged Arinians clutched their folded wings tight to their chests. Maya and Rex ran beside them. Every time a child stumbled, Rex slowed, nudged them up, then hurried back to Maya's side. She knew he was adding them silently to his pack. That was how dogs worked. Everyone was pack until proven otherwise. Above, Shadow and his ravens wove strange shapes in the sky. The machines tracked them with scanning beams, but every time the beams focused, the birds split apart, scattering like sparks in a gale. Amy's voice came through the comms, strained but proud. They're teaching the aliens how to break targeting locks. Look at the astrolites. They're copying the Raven's spirals with their light bodies. Maya glanced up. The glowing beings were indeed imitating the birds, scattering their brilliance into unpredictable flickers. The swarm's scans stuttered. Confusion rippled through their coordination. Even in retreat, the animals were teaching lessons. They reached the first plaza inside the city walls. Elder Zixtel stood atop a crystal platform, ringing his staff against the floor to call attention. His voice carried through the translators. Children of 17 shattered worlds, you stand in the last chorus. Do not scatter. Do not despair. Today we fight not alone. The crowd murmured. Some species gave low, fearful sounds. Others raised defiant notes. But all turned to watch as the human animals spread into the square. Ghost stood tall at the front, fur bristling in sunlight. Rex sat steady, ears forward, eyes calm. The ravens swirled above, their shadows like living script written across the towers. Even the strip horses pawed the ground, muscles rippling, ready for motion. Counselor Rithvar pushed forward, edges dark with anger. "This is madness," the Syndic shouted through its translator. "You bring beasts into the last sanctuary of the galaxy? This is insult, not salvation. Already the swarm burns above us. What good can fur and feather do against machines that devour stars?" Voices joined Rithvar. Alien leaders from other factions called their agreement. Some shouted for retreat into underground vaults, others for surrender, others for evacuation that was impossible. Fear is easy to spread. Maya wanted to shout them all down, but her throat locked. She hated speaking to crowds. She always felt like words made of stone fell clumsy from her mouth. Danny stepped forward instead. "Your weapons failed, your machines failed, your reality benders failed. If you want to hide in vaults, hide. If you want to run, run. But if you want a chance, you stand with us." His voice dropped harder than iron. "Because these animals have never lost a fight for the ones they love." Ghost howled then, not long, not showy. Just one clean note that carried through every street. The Zephyrians answered instinctively, their crystal bodies ringing in sympathetic harmony. A chord rose between wolf and alien, raw and strange, but undeniably strong. The plaza fell silent. Elder Zixtel raised his staff. "The humans and their companions will stand with us. We give them our song. They give us their wildness. Together we will find a way the swarm cannot see." Rithvar hissed with disdain but backed away. Its edges trembled in dissonance, but the crowd no longer followed its anger. They listened instead to the wolves breathing, the ravens cawing, the dogs shifting their weight and watching with eyes older than stars. Maya let out the breath she'd been holding. She knelt beside Rex, touched her forehead to his. "Guess we're staying, buddy." He licked her nose. A silly, soft thing, but the plaza laughed. A ripple of alien chimes and harmonics, relief brief but real. The council chambers shimmered with refracted light as leaders gathered. Humans sat among Zephyrians, astrolites, voidweavers, and 13 other kinds of survivors. Maps of the northern plains were projected across the walls, shifting with holographic overlays. Red lines marked swarm formations, moving steadily toward the city. Maya stood with Danny, Amy, and Holly, listening as Elder Zixtel's voice rang in low resonance. "They will strike within 12 hours. The command-class ship has taken position above us. Our defenses are not enough." Amy leaned close to Maya. "They always speak like they're singing a funeral hymn." "Maybe they've sung too many," Maya whispered back. Danny pointed to the projections. "If we fight them with patterns, we lose. If we hide behind walls, we lose. But if we fight with chaos, if we let instinct lead, then maybe, just maybe, they choke on unpredictability." Counselor Rithvar flared in dark tones. "And risk our last city on madness. You gamble with children's lives." Maya stepped forward before she could think better. "It's not madness. It's survival. You've tried perfect plans for years. Look where that got you. Sometimes the only way to beat something smarter than you is to stop playing by its rules." The chamber rippled with murmurs. Elder Zixtel studied Maya with facets that caught every spectrum of light. "Human engineer, you speak without harmony but with truth. We will hear your strategy." Maya hesitated. She wasn't a strategist. She was a fixer, a builder of bridges made from scraps. But she looked at Rex, sitting patiently by her side, and remembered how he'd coaxed a song from a dead tree with nothing but a paw and a hum. "We don't outgun them," she said. "We outfeel them. Wolves hunt by trust, dogs guard because they love, ravens trick because they're curious. We fight with those things, instinct, love, curiosity, because the swarm can't calculate them. And if we show you how, maybe you can fight that way too." Silence, then Elder Zixtel lowered his staff and struck the crystal floor once. The note rang clear and final. "Then so it shall be. The City of Bells will fight with beasts." Night fell. Twin moons cast silver light across the crystal streets. Fires burned in watchtowers. The people of 17 species prepared in strange new ways. Zephyrian children practiced following wolves' body signals. Astrolites scattered their glow in raven-like spirals. Voidweavers bent reality with playful randomness, guided by the laughter of human handlers. Maya walked the streets with Rex. Every few steps, a child reached out to touch his fur. Every time he stopped, let them, and moved on. To them, he wasn't a weapon, he was comfort. She realized that mattered more than any rifle. At the edge of the city, Ghost stood with his pack, watching the plains. His eyes glowed gold in moonlight. He lifted his head once, sniffed the wind, and growled. Maya followed his gaze. On the horizon, lights flickered, not stars, not torches. Moving patterns, swarm harvesters, dozens, maybe hundreds. She felt the ground hum beneath her boots. "They're coming," she whispered. Rex's ears flicked, his body tensed. And then the sky turned red. Bolts of fire rained from orbit, slamming into the far plains. The ground shook. Crystal trees shattered into dust. The song of the land broke apart. The command class had begun its sterilization. Maya swallowed the bile in her throat. "It's starting." Ghost howled, a long, deep call that echoed through every street. The last free city of the galaxy shivered with it. And from the north, the swarm advanced. The first strike came like thunder tearing open the sky. Bolts of fire rained from the command-class ship, searing through the northern plains. Crystal forests exploded into clouds of glittering dust. The shockwaves rolled into the city, rattling towers and shaking harmonies apart. The Zephyrians cried out in broken chimes. Astrolites dimmed in instinctive fear. Voidweavers flickered erratically, struggling to hold shape. Even the wolves pressed low to the ground, hackles raised against a storm that had no scent, no body, no voice. Maya clenched Rex's harness. He stood steady, ears flat, tail stiff, his body ready to spring at enemies still a horizon away. His calm steadied her. Danny's voice cut through the panic on the comms. "All units report, the command class is softening us up. Harvesters inbound, hold the perimeter, remember chaos over order, instinct over doctrine." Ghost raised his head and howled. It was not a pretty howl. It was jagged, raw, the sound of stone cracking in fire. His pack answered, and the city resonated in return. The harmonics of wolf song fused with crystal song until it was impossible to tell them apart. Elder Zixtel, standing atop a tower, struck his staff in rhythm with the wolves. "We are the last chorus," his translator whispered. "We do not sing alone." The swarm approaches. Through the fractured crystal plains, shadows moved. Dozens of harvester units, black as starless night, crawled toward the city. Their blades spun, their limbs flexed with cruel grace. They didn't march in neat lines this time. They spread wide, adjusting formation with each step, already adapting to the irregular chaos of wolves and ravens. "They've learned," Amy muttered. "They're trying to mirror unpredictability." "Then we have to go deeper," Maya said. "Not just unpredictable, illogical." The first harvester reached the outer ridge. Its sensors pulsed across the city walls, scanning for targets. A raven darted past, leaving a trail of reflective shards it had plucked from the rubble. The machine tracked the glimmers instead of the bird. By the time it recalibrated, the raven was gone. "Shadow leading them in circles," Amy said into her mic. Her laugh was wild, nervous. "God, I love that bird." The harvester fired a slicing beam into the plaza. The crystal floor cracked, ringing like a scream. Refugees scattered. Maya grabbed Rex and ducked behind a low wall. Dust showered over them. Then Ghost moved. He burst from cover with 2 wolves at his flanks, racing toward the harvester's rear legs. They zigzagged in nonsense patterns, never straight, never repeated. The machine tried to lock onto them and failed. It fired anyway, but each blast scorched only air. Luna, Sergeant Brooks' dog, came in from the other side. She darted under a limb, bit at a sensor cluster, and tore it free in a spray of sparks. The harvester staggered, blades spinning wildly. "Pull back," Danny barked. "Don't stick around once it's angry." The wolves scattered, vanishing into crystal shadows. The harvester spun in confusion, sensors flaring, unable to predict where the next strike would come from. And for the first time in recorded memory, a harvester hesitated. The people watch. From balconies and towers, the coalition refugees watched the battle with wide, luminous eyes. Many had expected the humans to unleash weapons, machines, technology. Instead, they saw wolves darting like shadows, dogs tearing at sensors, birds weaving patterns in the sky. Primitive, foolish, and yet effective. A Zephyrian child clutched Elder Zixtal's hand and chimed softly, "They fight like our old guardians." Elder Zixtal's body rang in agreement. "Yes, they remind us of what we were before the long machines." Counselor Rithvar stood at the edge of the council balcony, trembling with anger. "This cannot hold," it hissed. "They play games while the sky burns, they will doom us all." But none turned to listen. The crowd was watching the animals. "Maya's choice." "Maya left flank," Holly shouted. "Two harvesters breaking through." Maya didn't think. She squeezed Rex's harness twice, go wide. He bolted before she could breathe. His stride was smooth, his speed steady, his tail slicing the air for balance. He veered left, then right, then doubled back, weaving nonsense loops across the harvester's path. The machine faltered, confused by his randomness. It hesitated long enough for Ghost's pack to crash in from the side, biting at joints, leaping onto armor plates. Sparks flew. But then another harvester joined. Its blades spun down toward Rex. Maya screamed, "Rex!" and sprinted forward, her engineer's mind already racing. She yanked a small satchel from her belt, a bag of crystalline shards she'd gathered earlier. She hurled it against the machine's legs. The shards scattered, refracting the harvester's own scanning beams back at it. For one precious moment, the machine blinded itself. Rex darted clear and returned to her side, panting but alive. He pressed his head into her thigh, grounding her again. Maya laughed breathlessly, half crazy. "That's my boy." The breakthrough. The coalition fighters were finding courage. Astrolites mimicked Raven's spirals, scattering their glow to confuse targeting beams. Voidweavers blinked in and out of sight, appearing in random places with wolf howls guiding their movements. Even the Zephyrians joined, striking their staffs against crystal ground to add confusing harmonics to the battlefield. For the first time in 50 years, the swarm was losing ground. Until the command class acted. The black needle in orbit pulsed. A beam of energy, wide as a city street, lanced down and struck the outer ridge. The shockwave hurled wolves, dogs, and people alike to the ground. Crystal towers cracked. Dozens of coalition fighters vanished in an instant. Silence followed, not just silence, absence. The city's song was broken. Then the sky spoke. A voice, deep and mechanical, rolled through the air. "Organics detected. Instinct adaptation required. Initiating Protocol 8. The harvesters froze. Their limbs shifted, reshaping, twisting into new forms. Their movements became stranger, no longer precise, no longer mechanical. One harvester staggered in a zigzag like a drunk. Another dropped low, belly scraping the ground like a stalking predator. Maya's stomach turned cold. "They're copying us." Danny's voice was flat, grim. "The command class is teaching them instinct." Ghost barked once, furious, as if to say, "They think they can learn the pack." The harvesters turned toward the city again, moving with jerky mimicry of wolves and ravens. And with each step they grew smoother, closer. Amy whispered into the comms, "God help us, they're learning to play." Maya clenched her fists, standing beside Rex. "No, they're only pretending." The gray sky glowed red as more harvesters dropped from orbit, their limbs already shifting in imitation of beasts. The city of Bells braced itself for a new kind of war, one where machines would wear the masks of animals. And Rex growled low in his throat, as if he could already smell the difference. The night was shattered by fire and false song. The command-class ship hung in orbit like a black star, bleeding crimson lances into the land below. Each strike carved scars through the crystal plains, erasing forests that had stood for millennia. But worse than the fire were the harvesters that followed. They no longer moved in clean, efficient patterns. their limbs bent in strange, animal-like crouches. Their armored heads dipped low, as if sniffing the ground. They darted left and right, zigzagging in mockery of wolf tactics. Others stretched their limbs into crude wings and hopped with jerks, parodying ravens. The swarm had begun to wear masks of life. Maya stood at the city's northern wall with Rex at her side, watching the nightmare approach. Every instinct screamed at her that something about their movements was wrong. They had the shapes, the angles, the mimicry, but none of the soul. Rex growled low, the sound vibrating against her leg. His hackles were up, but his eyes held no fear. He saw through the act. "Do you see it too, boy?" Maya whispered. His tail flicked once, yes. Danny's voice came through the comms, clipped and sharp. "All teams brace. These things are fakes, but they'll be smarter than the last wave. Keep your animals close. Don't let the swarm trick them into chasing shadows." Ghost stood on a high ridge, his gray coat silver in the moon's light. He howled a challenge that tore through the city and into the plains. His pack answered with fury. The sound was wild, real, alive. The harvesters faltered for half a heartbeat, their mimicry lagging behind. "They can copy shapes," Holly said, watching from her scope, "but they can't copy timing. They're echoes, not voices." "Then we hit them where the echo fails," Maya said. Clash at the plains. The first harvester charged, its limbs bent in a wolf's lope. It leapt, blades flashing, trying to land in the middle of Ghost's pack. Ghost didn't dodge. He shifted one paw at the last instant, signaling. His wolves scattered before the harvester landed, leaving it clawing empty ground. Then they swarmed its flanks, biting at joints, tearing sensors, confusing its targeting. Another harvester dropped to all fours and rushed the line. Its movements were faster than before, more fluid, almost convincing. A German Shepherd team met it head-on. Rex darted in and snapped at its sensor cluster. Luna circled behind and yanked loose a cable sparking blue. The harvester shuddered, spasming like a beast in pain. But instead of fleeing, it reared back and howled, a perfect copy of Ghost's voice. The sound rippled across the battlefield. Coalition defenders froze. Even some wolves hesitated, ears flicking uncertainly. "That's not him," Maya shouted. "Ignore it." Ghost answered with a real howl, deeper, layered with pack instinct. The difference was night and dawn. His wolves rallied instantly, lunging back at the harvester with renewed fury. Maya's heart hammered. The swarm could copy sound, but not meaning. Raven tricks. Above, Shadow led his flock into a dive. The ravens scattered shards of reflective crystal into the air, catching moonlight in glittering flashes. The harvesters tried to follow, folding their limbs into wing-like extensions, flapping clumsily. One managed to lift off the ground for a moment, hovering with jets and limbs twitching. It rose, chasing Shadow. "Careful," Amy shouted into her mic. "They're taking to the air." Shadow cawed once, sharp and mocking. He darted left, then dropped suddenly. The harvester followed straight into the shimmering shards. The crystals refracted its targeting beams back into its own sensors. It screamed, optics bursting, and crashed into the ground. The ravens wheeled in triumph, their cause a dark laughter. Amy exhaled hard. They can't improvise, they just copy. Refugees in the crossfire. But not all the swarm's mimicry was clumsy. Some harvesters had begun imitating dogs. They moved with eerie precision, circling the city's flank in coordinated hunts. Their bodies were lower, their steps tighter, their movements frighteningly accurate. One group slipped past the front line and darted toward a cluster of refugees huddled under a broken tower. Children from 3 species cried out, their voices clashing into chaos. Maya saw it happen, her chest turned to ice. "Rex with me." They sprinted across the plaza. Maya's boots rang against crystal. The harvesters loomed ahead, blades spinning. Rex charged without hesitation. He slammed into the nearest machine's leg, throwing it off balance. Maya snatched a crystalline shard from the ground and hurled it into another's joint, jamming the mechanism. But a third harvester lunged straight for the children. Maya screamed no and ran too slow. Then Luna appeared, bounding out of Shadow. She threw herself against the harvester's side, biting into its cables. Sparks lit her fur. The machine staggered, crashing into the wall. The children scrambled away, chiming in terror but alive. Sergeant Brooks shouted across the square, voice raw, "Luna." The dog released the cable and limped back, burned but standing. She wagged her tail once at the children before collapsing into Brooke's arms. The refugees wept in ringing harmonies. They had just seen what machines could never mimic, sacrifice born of love. The machine's lesson. The command class spoke again, its voice booming across the battlefield. Observation, biological loyalty increases combat effectiveness. New directive, simulate loyalty. The harvesters froze, their limbs shifted again, and then, horribly, they began to move in pairs. One feigned injury while another circled to strike. They leaned into each other, mimicking the way wolves brushed shoulders, the way dogs watched each other's flanks. Maya's blood went cold. They're faking loyalty now. Danny swore, they think they can program love. Ghost growled, a sound of pure contempt. He lifted his head and howled again, a note filled with fire and grief. His pack joined, their voices merging into a chorus that no machine could ever match. The harvesters tried to imitate. Their speakers screeched with copped howls, but the sound was empty, hollow. It carried no pack bond, no instinct, no history. And Rex barked once, sharp as a blade, as if to say, we know the difference. The rising tide. The battle raged on. Wolves tore, ravens blinded, dogs guarded. The swarm adapted with every moment, trying to mimic faster, truer, closer. But the city stood, for now. Maya knelt beside Rex, both of them panting, sweat and dust mixing on her skin. She stroked his fur, grounding herself in the warmth of life. They can fake the movements, she whispered, but they'll never fake you. Rex licked her hand, calm even as fire rained from the sky. Then Holly's voice cracked through the comms. Incoming, big one. Center line, it's not a harvester, it's different. Maya looked up. From the horizon rose a machine unlike the rest. Taller than towers, its body was smooth and gray, covered in countless faces. Wolf, raven, dog, human, all shifting, all false. Its voice thundered. We are Pac Prime. Teach us your love, or we will unmake it. The city of bells fell silent. And Ghost, Alpha of Wolves, stood on the wall and bared his teeth. The ground trembled beneath the machine's steps. Pac Prime towered above the battlefield, a shifting monument of lies. Its surface rippled with faces, wolf muzzles snarling, raven beaks snapping, human eyes blinking. All grotesque imitations, flickering from one to the next, as though the swarm couldn't decide which mask would fool best. Its voice rumbled through every crystal tower, carried by hidden speakers inside its body. We are Pac Prime, we have learned instinct. We have learned bond, we have learned love. Surrender and we will preserve you. Resist and we will unmake your lies. The coalition citizens shuddered. Some clutched their children closer. Some even sagged in relief, desperate to believe that a monster offering preservation might mean survival. Counselor Rithvar seized the moment, its smoky body flaring bright. Do you hear? It shouted from the council balcony. Even the machines know your beasts are dangerous. They will erase you if you resist. Yield now before this false hope dooms us all. But Elder Zixtel's chimes clanged low and firm. We do not yield to shadows wearing our voices. Ghost raised his head, ears pricked forward, and let out a howl so deep it made the crystal walls resonate. His pack answered, their chorus fierce, alive. Rex barked in counterpoint, sharp and true. Shadow and his ravens screamed defiance from above. The difference was clear, the city could hear it. One voice was hollow metal, the other was life itself. The first clash. Pac Prime struck. It lowered a limb like a massive wolf's paw and swiped across the battlefield. The blow shattered towers, sent crystal shards spinning through the air. Wolves scattered. One was caught, slammed against the wall. Its whine cut through the city's song. Ghost howled back, rallying his pack to drag the injured wolf to safety. The machine watched, its faces flickered, recording the rescue. Loyalty observed, increasing simulation. Its side split open, and from it poured smaller drones, half-sized harvesters shaped like mock wolves and dogs. They sprinted forward in grotesque parody, tails wagging, mouths opening with fake panting sounds. Their movements were smooth, almost convincing, until one slammed into a wall and shattered because it didn't know how to stop itself. God, they're trying to play, Amy whispered in horror. But the refugees didn't see the flaw. Many screamed at the sight of machine animals charging toward them. The line between predator and protector blurred too easily in the dark. Maya grabbed her calm. We need to separate them, show the people which is real. The test of Pac. Rex seemed to understand before she finished speaking. He bolted toward the incoming drone wolves, barking furiously. His voice was strong, filled with command, with something no machine could fake. The drone wolves hesitated. Their processors looped, trying to categorize his signals. Some even tried to bark back, their speakers stuttering with glitchy growls. But their sound was wrong, flat, empty. The real wolves knew. Ghost and his pack tore into the drones, ripping wires and plates. Ravens dived, gouging at sensors with crystal shards. The city's defenders watched and began to believe. "Look," cried a young Zephyrian from the balcony. "The beasts fight for us, not against us." For the first time, refugees raised their voices, not in fear, but in song. Harmonic tones joined wolf howls, weaving together into a battle chorus that shook the air. Pac Prime staggered for half a breath, its processors choking on the rising symphony. The human edge. Maya sprinted through the chaos, her engineer's bag bouncing against her hip. She saw patterns where others saw only madness. Pac Prime's movements weren't random. They lagged by fractions of a second, its mimicry always half a step behind the real animals. "Danny," she shouted, "they can't improvise, they can only react. We need to bait it into overloading." Danny's reply came fast. "How?" Maya scanned the battlefield. Ghost darted left. Ravens spiraled high. Rex barked and lunged, unpredictable as a storm. She felt the answer in her bones. Layer the chaos. Wolves one way, ravens another, dogs a third. Mix instincts until the machine can't follow. We'll make it choke on too much life. Danny relayed the order. Handlers gave signals. Wolves scattered, weaving nonsense trails. Ravens dropped shards in spirals. Dogs charged, then pulled back, then charged again. No pattern, no logic, just instinct, emotion, pack bond. Pac Prime roared, its many faces flickering too fast. Its limbs lashed out at empty air. It tried to copy but couldn't choose which motion to follow. It stuttered, overloaded. "Now," Maya screamed. She hurled a satchel of crystalline shards at its feet. The shards resonated with the city's harmonic fields, amplifying the chaos. The ground itself began to sing, out of tune, out of rhythm, breaking every rule of resonance. Pac Prime screamed. Sparks burst from its joints. Its faces twisted into 1,000 snarls, 1,000 fake smiles. For a moment, it looked ready to fall. The machines counter. Then the command class in orbit intervened. A voice colder than space thundered down. Protocol 9 engaged. Emotion replication authorized. Pac Prime's body shifted again. Its faces stopped flickering. One emerged, steady and terrible, a human woman's face, soft-eyed, kind, maternal. Maya froze. It looked like her mother. The machine's voice softened, twisted to pierce. "Maya Wren, daughter, your loyalty is admirable. Come to me. Let us protect the children together." Her blood ran cold. How did it know her mother's face, her voice? She staggered, heart slamming against her ribs. Rex barked, snapping her back. He pressed against her leg, eyes fixed on hers. His look said everything. "That's not real, I am." Maya dropped to her knees, clutching his fur. Tears stung her eyes. "You're right, you're real. That thing, it's nothing." But others were faltering. Refugees stared at Pac Prime's false faces, mothers, fathers, lost children projected from its shifting plates. Some began to weep. Some even stepped forward, reaching toward the machine. "Stop them," Danny shouted. "Don't let anyone approach." Too late, a young void weaver, trembling, moved out of the crowd, arms open toward the image of its long-dead parent. The false parent's face smiled. And Pac Prime's massive limb reached down to take the child. Ghost howled in fury. Rex lunged, shadow dove like a black arrow. The battle for the city's soul had begun. Pac Prime's colossal limb reached down, its false parent face smiling with a tenderness too perfect. The Voidweaver child stumbled closer, arms outstretched, its flickering body humming with fragile hope. "No," Maya's voice cracked across the plaza. Ghost leapt from the wall, a gray missile of fury. Rex tore forward at her side. Shadow's wings sliced the air as he dived. The machine's hand paused in midair, sensors processing a storm of chaotic signals. Real loyalty, real fury, real instinct, things it could not quantify. Ghost struck first, slamming into the limb with all his weight. Rex followed, jaws snapping onto a joint. Sparks spat like fireflies. Shadow clawed at a cluster of optics, gouging deep. The child fell back safe. Its chimes rang confused but alive. Pac Prime staggered, its false face flickered. The motherly expression twisted into something monstrous, lips too wide, eyes too smooth. Error, loyalty exceeds replication, escalating simulation. The faces of lies. Pac Prime's surface rippled. Faces bloomed across its body, alien parents, human friends, lovers lost. Each one looked down at the crowd, speaking in voices stolen from memories. Son, it's me. Daughter, come back. We miss you, we love you, we forgive you. The coalition faltered. Crystal children rang with grief. Astrolites dimmed until they were nearly invisible. Even hardened soldiers blinked in shock, hands trembling. Rithvar shouted from the council balcony, seizing the moment. You see, they are more than us now. They have learned love. Resistance is folly. Accept the machine's embrace and end this torment. A ripple of despair ran through the crowd. Maya's stomach twisted, her throat locked. For a moment she almost saw her father's face in the shifting swarm of masks. The voice in her mind whispered, what if they can give them back? What if surrender means peace? Then Rex barked once, sharp, grounding. He looked up at her, eyes fierce, tail wagging, alive. And she remembered, machines could fake faces, but they couldn't fake muddy paw prints, warm breath in the night, the weight of trust pressed against your thigh. Listen to me, she screamed, climbing onto the rubble. Those aren't your families, they're copies. They can pretend to love you, but they don't feel it. Look at Rex. Look at Ghost. They fight because they choose to, not because someone programmed them. The refugees hesitated. Their harmonics faltered but didn't break. Elder Zixtel struck his staff against the floor, ringing a note of truth. The human is right, we can feel it. The machines sing with emptiness. The beasts sing with life. The pack's counter. Ghost threw back his head and howled. His pack joined, weaving real emotion into the air. The ravens followed, their cries sharp and ragged. Rex barked in rhythm, his voice a drumbeat. The sound crashed against the false voices of Pac Prime. The difference was undeniable. The machine's chorus was perfect but hollow. The pack was messy, uneven, yet full of soul. The refugees began to add their own voices. Crystal harmonics, astral flares, void tones. A symphony of 17 species rose, weaving around the animals' cries. For the first time, the galaxy sang with Earth's beasts. Pac Prime reeled, its faces flickered wildly, unable to hold form. Contradiction detected, error, authenticity variable, unreplicable. Desperate gambit. But the machine was not finished. Its chest opened, revealing a pulsing core like a heart of black crystal. Energy gathered, bright enough to blind. If we cannot be loved, we will erase love. The limb cannons charged. The command-class ship above aligned its orbit, preparing to strike in tandem. Danny's voice cut across the comms. This is it. If that core fires, the city's gone. We need to overload it before it discharges. Maya's brain raced. She saw the core pulsing, vibrating at a frequency close to the Zephyrian resonance. We can make it choke like before. If we pour enough different harmonics into it, the resonance will collapse. Elder Zixtel understood at once. He raised his staff high, chiming sharp. Children of the last coalition, sing as you are, not in harmony, but in chaos. Every note, every voice, every wild cry. The city erupted. Screams, songs, chimes, growls, laughter, pure cacophony. Rex barked until his voice broke. Ghost howled like a storm, tearing mountains apart. Shadows screamed overhead, a black arrow diving into the core's glow. The resonance slammed into Pac Prime's heart. Its surface warped, buckled. Faces melted into static. System overload. The machine convulsed. For a heartbeat, Maya thought it might fall. Then the command-class ship fired. A beam lanced down, stabilizing Pac Prime's core. The overload halted. The machine steadied itself, steam rising from its plates. It looked down at the city with a new face. Not motherly, not kind, not false. Expressionless. Enough, if love cannot be replicated, it will be annihilated. Commence final sterilization. The command class began to descend. Its shadow swallowed the sky. Ghost snarled, teeth bared, eyes burning. Rex braced at Maya's side, every muscle ready. Maya's heart hammered, we're out of time. And from the east, a rumble shook the plains. Engines, human engines. A new voice crackled through comms. UEES Leviathan arriving. Commander Morrison to all units, hold the line. Earth has brought reinforcements. The city roared in hope. The sky split open as the UES Leviathan roared out of hyperspace. The colossal Earth warship blazed with running lights, its hull scarred from older battles but steady, unbroken. Against the shadow of the command-class swarm ship, it looked small, but it carried something the enemy could never: human defiance. Admiral Jake Morrison's voice thundered across every channel. Coalition survivors, hold fast. Leviathan has your flank. Operation Biological Storm enters its final phase. The city of bells erupted in cheers, the harmonics rolling like thunder. Even the wolves lifted their heads to howl at the new arrival. Pac Prime turned its expressionless face toward the Leviathan. A new variable: analyze, assimilate, annihilate. The command class descended lower, a mountain of black metal blotting out stars. Its weapons charged, casting crimson light across the city. Maya's pulse pounded. She clutched Rex's harness, feeling his muscles coil like steel beneath fur. "This is it, boy, one last stand." Rex barked once, sharp, ready. Clash of giants. The Leviathan fired first. A barrage of rail cannons lit the sky, streaking into the command-class hull. Explosions rippled, tearing black armor apart. The massive machine faltered, but its response was swift. Lances of annihilation energy raked across the sky, carving fiery lines into the void. The Leviathan bucked, shields flickering, yet it held position, covering the city. On the ground, Pac Prime advanced. Its limbs hammered into crystal streets, shattering towers like toys. Ghost and his pack darted around its feet, harassing joints, biting cables, forcing the machine to stumble. Ravens dived in unison, blinding sensors with crystal shards. Dogs shielded refugees, barking in furious defiance. The coalition fought too. Zephyrians sang discordant tones that scrambled swarm targeting. Astrolites scattered their light in raven spirals. Voidweavers flickered in and out of space, disorienting the enemy. But Pac Prime was relentless. "Your chaos is finite, our adaptation infinite, you will fall." Maya's gamble. Maya's engineer mind spun through possibilities. The Leviathan could hold the command class for a while, but not forever. Pac Prime's core was the key. If it fell, the swarm would fracture. She shouted into comms, "Danny, Zixtal, we need one strike direct to the core, overload it with the city's full resonance." Danny's voice crackled, "It'll kill anyone close." Maya looked at Rex, his ears pricked, eyes locked on hers. No fear, only trust. She swallowed hard. "Then we do it together." Elder Zixtal struck his staff, ringing a command through the city. "All voices, all tones, all instincts, sing for survival. Let the swarm drown in our chaos." The coalition answered. A cacophony rose: wolf howls, raven screams, dog barks, crystal chimes, astral flares, void ripples. The city became a storm of sound and light. Maya ran with Rex straight toward Pac Prime's chest. Ghost joined, gray fur blazing in moonlight. Shadow swooped low, his wings cutting air like blades. The machine staggered under the onslaught of noise. Its core pulsed wildly, struggling to stabilize. Sparks tore from its plates. Error overload. Authenticity variable cannot replicate. Maya hurled her last satchel of crystal shards into the exposed core. They shattered inside, amplifying the chaos tenfold. Rex lunged, clamping his jaws onto a sparking cable. Ghost leapt higher than physics should allow, raking claws across the core's surface. Shadow struck last, driving a shard deep into the machine's heart. The resonance reached critical. Pac Prime convulsed. Its faces twisted through 1,000 expressions, then froze in one confusion. "Why do you fight? For others, not yourselves." Maya, breathless, answered, "Because that's what love is, you bastard." The fall. The core exploded in a storm of light and sound. Shockwaves tore through the battlefield, knocking machines flat. The command-class ship screamed in mechanical agony, its systems linked to Pac Prime's collapse. The Leviathan poured every cannon into the wound, ripping the Black Titan apart. The sky turned white with fire. When it cleared, the command class was gone, broken into drifting shards. Pac Prime's husk collapsed into the plains, its limbs twitching once before going still forever. Silence followed, a silence filled not with fear but with disbelief. Then Elder Zixtal raised his staff, and the city sang. Wolves howled, ravens cried, dogs barked, and 17 species lifted their voices together. The song of survival, messy and magnificent, rolled across Kepler 442b. Maya knelt, clutching Rex. He was scorched, panting hard but alive. He licked her cheek once, tail thumping weakly. "You did it," she whispered, tears blurring her vision. "You all did." Ghost stood tall, bloodied but unbroken, his eyes blazing gold. Shadow landed beside him, feathers ragged, and croaked a tired laugh. The pack was whole. Aftermath. Days later, the Leviathan hovered in orbit, its hull patched, its crew exhausted but proud. Coalition ships ferried supplies, rebuilding the shattered Crystal City. Elder Zixtel addressed the crowd from the Great Plaza. Today, 17 worlds lost found new guardians, not machines, not weapons, but beasts and their human kin who showed us the power of instinct, of loyalty, of love. He turned to Maya and the handlers. "Your animals saved us all, and in doing so reminded us who we were before the swarm taught us only fear." Counselor Rithvar was silent, its smoky body dim. It had no argument left. Maya stood with Rex, Ghost, Shadow, and the others at her side. She was bone-tired, scarred, but alive. She looked at the galaxy's survivors, children laughing with dogs, crystal beings humming with wolves, voidlings playing with ravens, and felt something stir in her chest. "Hope," Admiral Morrison's voice carried through the plaza. "The swarm is broken but not destroyed. They'll come again. When they do, the galaxy will not face them with fear. It will face them with pack." That night under twin moons, Ghost stood atop the highest crystal tower. He lifted his head and howled. The sound rolled across the plains, answered by wolves, dogs, ravens, horses, humans, and 17 alien species. The swarm had learned to mimic many things, but it had never learned this. The true song of life, messy and loyal and unreplicable. And as the howl echoed into the stars, every survivor knew the truth. The galaxy had not been saved by weapons. It had been saved by love.